Hi guys, welcome back to Target IAS's Government Schemes Series 2021. This is Neha Bolgam, and today on the last episode of this series, we are discussing an amalgamation of a couple of ministries. Trust me, I'm going to discuss all the important ministries that have recently come into light under today's discussion. To give you a brief review of what we're going to discuss today, we are going to start with the Ministry of Earth Sciences, and then we're going to go ahead into the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, then later into the Ministry of Power, and we are going to end with the Ministry of Mines. So as you have seen, the Ministry of Earth Sciences, Renewable Energy, Mines, Power, all of them are interrelated, and that is why I have chosen to take all of them up in the last video so that you will have a better comprehensive understanding of these particular ministries. So let's delve in. So heading off to the first ministry, that is the Ministry of Earth Sciences. Under it, the first scheme under discussion is across. So the Ministry of Earth Sciences, as I have observed, has these interesting acronyms for all the schemes that it has come up with. I'm going to introduce all of them one by one. And the first one here is ACROSS, which abbreviates into Atmosphere and Climate Research Modeling, Observing Systems and Services. So as you understood from the name of the scheme, it is something that ensures the weather-based services monitoring and etc. And the main objective is to ensure the last mile connectivity. So under this scheme, we have 9 sub-schemes. Of course, all the schemes and their details are not in great importance for the exam, but try and remember the name, that is the Atmosphere and Climate Research Modeling, Observing Systems and Services, and that comes under the Ministry of Earth Sciences. Before going ahead, let me give you a better understanding of the scheme from the... So now, let me bring you to this infograph so that you have a better understanding of the scheme. So as I told you, the scheme is being continued from the year 2017 to 2022. It improves the weather, climate and ocean forecast services. It has an estimated cost of 1450 crores and it aims to establish the National Facility for Airborne Research with a commitment of about 130 crore rupees. Now, the most unique feature of the scheme is that it ensures the last mile connectivity of the weather-based services, which is the objective as I've just read out, by focusing on the Krishi Vignan Kendras, the universities that are based on weather education and also the local municipalities. So there is basically an integration of all these bodies that come together to provide the weather service information to the layman. And when it comes to the applications of its weather-based services, the end users can make use of it in the agro-meteorological services, secondly in the aviation sector to find out the weather before taking off the flight, in the environmental monitoring services to ensure that there are no near natural threats or disasters coming across the biomes and ecosystems, and also in the hydrometeorological services. So these are the applications of the scheme, and the scheme is also implemented by a couple of institutions such as the Indian Meteorological Department, the IMD, the Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services, that is the INCOIS, which is located in Hyderabad. Secondly, we have the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. And lastly, it is the National Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasting. Moving ahead, having discussed the ACROSS scheme, as I have told you, the Ministry of Earth Sciences has all its schemes under interesting acronyms as such, and I'm going to briefly discuss each of them. They're not important per se in detail, but I'm just going to give you a brief overview. So the Osmart here is the Ocean Services Modeling, Application, Resources and Technology, which is aiming at setting up ocean research, weather warning systems and ballast water discharge facility. So let me here take a minute and explain to you what this ballast water discharge system is. As you can see in this infograph, there are 4 stages into the ballast water discharge mechanism. and I will take you through each of them because there is a high chance of this appearing in the environment or the science and technology section of the preliminary paper 2021. Ballast water is nothing but the fresh or salt water held in the ballast tanks and cargo ships of. So what is ballast water? Ballast water is nothing but it is a fresh or salt water held in the ballast tanks and cargo holds of ships. Now it is used to provide stability and maneuverability during a voyage, which due to the weight of the water in the cargo, it makes it more stable to the rough seas, and also because of the weight that is here, this brings the ship down when there is a bridge on the above to pass through. So it basically does not sink it too much, nor does it keep it afloat when there are rough seas and there are a lot of ups and down waves. So it keeps the ship submerged enough so that it is stable in the ocean and stays afloat. But where is the problem coming is that the release of this ballast water introduces non-invasive organisms. So here, as you can see, the water is being released, and this brings in all the non-invasive organisms such as the exotic species, as we say, or the alien species or the non-indigenous species into the Indian waters or any water per se, and that destroys the natural biodiversity that they hold. So this is where the Osmart scheme comes in. It is trying to monitor and minimize this waste disposal into the ocean. Going ahead, we have the PACER scheme, that is abbreviated into the Polar Science and Cryosphere scheme. Now, I do not have an infograph per se for the Polar Science and Cryosphere scheme, but I would like to just tell a word about it where, as most of you must be knowing, the initially uninhabited or unexplored polar areas are not the same anymore. There are a lot of climate changes happening at the North and South poles, and regarding that, there are a lot of polar exploration missions being done across the world. So in search of minerals or in search of establishing strategic relations with the surrounding countries in the North Pole and etc. So this scheme comes in place of importance with regard to all these aspects that I just mentioned. After that, we further have the SAGE scheme, which is nothing but the Seismology and Geosciences scheme, which is quite self-explanatory from the term that I've just mentioned. It ensures into overlooking all the variations within the geographical earth sciences and the seismological changes that have been recorded on the Richter or the Mersenne scale. And then lastly, here we have the DOM scheme, that is nothing but the Deep Ocean scheme, which is quite important from the examinations perspective, and I'm going to discuss it in the next scheme of today. So let us get back to our table, and here the second scheme is the Deep Ocean mission, whose objective is to reach hitherto untapped 75,000 square kilometers of depth in the international waters. And what are the important facts that you need to remember is that it is approved by the CCEA, that is the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, and this has been brought in place to support the blue economic policy of the government. As most of you must be knowing, the blue economic policy is nothing but the sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved lifestyles, jobs, ocean health systems, and etc. So as I have told you, under the Deep Ocean mission, there is this deep sea mining that is going to take place, and that is through the underwater vehicles, underwater robotics that are under manufacturing capacities and testing capacities that are soon going to be tested. So this is the depth of the international waters that this project is going to take up, and they are trying to extract and firstly identify, of course, and then extract the polymetallic nodules, which have a resource potential of about 380 million tons in our ocean bed. And when it comes to the composition of these modules, it is very clearly given here that the highest one at no comparison level with the other minerals is manganese, which is at 92.6 million tons. And next is the nickel, next is copper, and lastly we have cobalt, which is around 1 million ton. And next here, under the advantages of the scheme, it aids in the monitoring and the development of the Ocean Climate Change Advisory Services. There is also the induction of the technology for the sustainable utilization of the marine bioreserves. And we also are going to take up the deep ocean survey and exploration, which previously have only been taken up by countries such as the US, Russia, France, Japan, and China. So India is going to be the 6th nation that has taken up a tantamount scheme under its shoulders. It also, under this scheme, there are majorly 2 submissions that are gonna be aimed at being delivered. So the first one being a desalinization plant that is being powered by the tidal energy to provide electricity. And the second is the launch of the submersible vehicles that I have just mentioned in the first point, that can explore at around the depth of 6,000 meters. So under the prelims practice questions of this session, the first question based on the above 2 schemes that I have discussed is: identify the decreasing order of the presence of the following minerals in the polymetallic nodules that are found in the ocean bed. So the options are given below. Take a pause of 5 seconds, read through the options and try to remember the infograph that I have just brought to you and answer that. If you cannot answer that, don't worry, don't stress about it. It is of course a quite factual based question. I have wantedly made it tricky because UPSC asks questions based on pure facts sometimes, and especially when a scheme as huge as this has been in news, there are quite a few chances that the mineral-based questions will be asked from the geography aspect. So if you can't answer it, don't stress, pause it, go back to the video, go back to the infograph that I've just brought to you 5 to 10 seconds ago and answer it. Next here, under the 3rd and 4th scheme of discussion, I have the Gemini system and the IFlows Mumbai. So these are both mostly very small schemes. And that is why I have amalgamated them together. So let us go one by one. The first scheme, that is the Gemini system, is basically to warn the fisherman of the danger related to the weather services or any turbulence in the seas when they go out for the fisheries. And the facts regarding that is that it is being monitored or evaluated by the INCOIS that is based in Hyderabad, and the information regarding the natural disasters and the sea weather is being provided by the ISRO's Gagan satellite. So this Gemini, as I have mentioned to you, is nothing but a soap box sized device that is fitted to fishing boats, and this will have a receiver. So as I've told you, this is the ISRO's Gagan satellite, and it provides information regarding any turbulence of the fishermen and their seas while they are out for fishing to provide their safety. And this is being provided by the INCOIS that is situated in Hyderabad. So let us take a minute here and understand what this INCOIS is. It is quite important because the questions in UPSC are not always direct. Sometimes they might just pick up a small term that has come in the scheme and make a whole question out of it. Especially when it comes to any organizations that you come across schemes, always focus on them and read a bit into it. So the INCOIS Hyderabad is nothing but the Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services. Now this is an autonomous organization. It is located and it is mandated to provide the best possible ocean information and advisory services to society, industry, government agencies and the scientific community through sustained ocean observations and the constant improvement through systematic and focused research. When it comes to its monitoring, it is especially done in a few identified potential fishing zones that the fishers generally go to, and the information is sent through a mobile application downloaded by all the fishermen through Bluetooth or in also available in the regional languages. Also, a unique feature is that this forecast is provided 3 days in advance, and alerts are sent on the weather systems and sent once every hour when it is regarding to an emergency in that particular 3 days. So having understood the Gemini system and how it aids the fisheries, let us now try and understand the IFlows Mumbai system. This is nothing but a flood warning system that is being implemented in collaboration with the Mumbai Municipal Corporation. I have bought this infograph, which is quite informative. If you have time, please pause through, take a screenshot of this and read through the infograph, which has quite a detailed explanation of all the modules under the IFlows system. So these are all nothing but the modules that are represented here under the IFlows Mumbai, which helps in forecasting the flood levels. They have the data assimilation module, flood module, inundation module, vulnerability module, risk module, and dissemination module. And let me brief about each one of these to you. When it comes to the data assimilation module, it gathers a variety of the dynamic data about the weather forecast and underwater depth of rivers and lakes. And after gathering, the inundation module comes in, where this data will be used to forecast exactly the flood inundation and after such gathering of the data, as I have told you regarding the river depth and their managing of all the rainwater that has been coming in, the inundation module then uses this data to forecast the flood approximately at least 3 days in advance. And then we have the flood module, which will predict how the water will move across the areas that are expected to be flooded, that are in the respective orange, yellow and the red zones. And then we have the vulnerability and the risk modules, which comprise about the decision making support system, which enables the administration to take smart decisions with respect to the risk out there. And lastly, we have the dissemination module that makes information available to field officials through various communication channels. So these are the brief features that I found are very important to understand how the IFlows works. And having discussed both the IFlows and the Gemini system, let us have a question upon that. I hope you guys are ready for this. And the second question for today is, which of the following statements correctly describe the functions of the inundation module of the Mumbai IFlows? Do not be confused, have a conceptual clarity about what I've just explained. It is nothing but a simple flow from the data assimilation to inundation to flood module. So try and understand what would be between the data assimilation and the flood module, and you'll get the answer to this. So the options are given below. Take a 5 minutes pause and answer it. I encourage you all to write it in the comment section below, so that people will be more and more encouraged to answer these questions that are being provided and are helpful to you at the end. The fifth scheme for today is the early health warning system, which is very good at predicting the possibility of the weather change based disease outbreak. Now this has come into place after the recent COVID. Now this has come into a major light after the Now this scheme has come into light after the recent COVID incident, as it is quite important to know the zoological based diseases that are originating from the changes in the weather and from the depleting forest resources, for which the diseases are coming out of the forest and entering into the mankind and affecting us. So it majorly monitors the NCDs, that are the non-communicable diseases. There's no infograph per se for this particular scheme because it's quite small and quite brief. So try and remember the points through the table that I have provided here. Going into the sixth scheme of today, that is the Knowledge Resource Center Network. This is nothing but a single point entry to the intellectual world of the Ministry of Earth Sciences. It is nothing but a e-library kind of digital service that provides all the information that the research and knowledge centers collate in India. And this comes under the Digital India Initiative. Let us understand its functions through the infograph provided here. So this establishes basically a total quality management system for documenting the knowledge resources, their maintenance, easy retrieval and dissemination. It collates, collects, analyzes, indexes, stores and etc. all of these These are just the functions of this particular scheme. It develops and maintains an up-to-date metadata that is very important when it comes to further retrieval of information when in need. It provides 24/7 access to the subscribed knowledge content, and it conducts training workshops periodically to the population to popularize the usage of the electronic journals, databases, digital products, and analytics. So this is one technology related scheme that is in place. Now going ahead, we are entering into the second ministry, that is the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. So this comes under the seventh scheme for today. The first scheme under the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy is the Green Term Ahead Market, which is nothing but a platform. As I have told you, it is a market which provides a platform to sell the renewable energy by its developers. And the fact that everyone has to notice here is that there is also a further segregation of a major sale categories such as the solar renewable purchase obligations and all the other renewable forms of energies into the non-solar RPOs. Do not worry, I have a very beautiful collection of infographics for you all to understand this scheme further. I think this is the most favorite scheme of mine throughout the session of today because it's quite interesting, plainly. So the Geetam, I call it as that because it abbreviates into GTAM, of course. So the Green Term Ahead Market will facilitate the consumer choice. It will help achieve national renewable capacity targets and enable distribution companies in integrating the renewable energy efficiently. So as I've told you, it is nothing but an alternative new model introduced for selling the power by the renewable developers in the open market without getting into long-term power purchase agreements. Now this is something you need to make a mental note of. Firstly, it is a market-based platform to sell the renewable energy, that is by the renewable energy developers. And secondly, its main aim is to not get into long-term power purchasing agreements. That is majorly to focus on the short-term and market need based agreements. Now let us briefly understand what are the benefits and the disadvantages of the scheme. As the colors indicate, this is the benefits side and this is the disadvantages side. So the Green Term Ahead Market would basically lessen the burden on the renewable energy rich states and incentivize them to develop the renewable energy capacity beyond their own RPOs. It will benefit buyers of these energies to come through competitive prices and transparent and flexible procurement. And it also helps in selling the excessive energy that is left with the developers. It helps in meeting the deficit on a day-ahead basis. So this is one unique feature which is both in the pros and the cons. So what is this is when it comes to the PPA, that is the power purchase agreements that I have mentioned above, it is nothing but a predated agreement that you make regarding a power purchase. And this is of course a profit when you look at it where from the angle of not wasting the deficit power or the surplus power with you. And it also is a con when you look at from the side of committing to providing the energy a day ahead. So that is where there is a kind of a revenue loss or maybe the risk of promising something and maybe not having the surplus energy the next day. It is almost like the predicting future kind of a risk that you're taking. And then when it comes to other pros, it also prevents curtailment. New market avenues are being discovered. It helps in identifying buyers and it helps majorly in diversifying the portfolio of the developers. And when it comes to the negatives, it is nothing but subcategorizing the whole renewable energy into solar and non-solar by giving a leeway to the solar produced energies and giving a kind of under image or under importance to the non-solar renewable energies. It leads to market fragmentation, multiple pricing mechanisms, of course, the transmission utilization, and integration with other market segments, which is quite confusing, to be honest. So yes, jumping on to the next question after having discussed two schemes is, consider the following statements regarding the Green Terms Ahead platform. It is an alternative new model introduced for selling off the power in the open market via short-term power purchase agreements, and committing to day ahead is and committing to a day ahead schedule for sale is one of its top risk factors. So based on the above discussion, identify which is the correct answer. Is it one only, two only, both, or neither? Do comment the answer in the section below. So under the 8th scheme for today, we have the National Solar Mission, which is one of the 8 key national missions under the India's National Action Plan on Climate Change. Now, the NAPCC is something that you would have frequently heard in the news, where it has 8 key missions under that, and the National Solar Mission is one of the important ones, which incidentally also comes under the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. And an important fact to remember is that it aims at producing or coming to the capacity of producing 100 gigawatts of installed solar capacity by the end of 2022. So as I have told you, this is the National Action Plan on Climate Change, and these are the 8 missions. Let me take you through each one of them so that you remember the names in a brief eidetic memory. So the first being the National Solar Mission, the National Mission on Enhanced Energy Efficiency, National Mission on Sustainable Habitat on Water, Green Mission for Green India, and we have the mission for sustaining the Himalayan ecosystem, the National Mission on Strategic Knowledge for Climate Change, and for Sustainable Agriculture. So try and remember these key areas. And this is a infographic that I've just provided for the newbies here to understand what solar energy is and how it majorly works. But when it comes to the National Solar Mission, as I have told you, it has the aim of producing 100 gigawatts by the year 2022, and its other aims include reducing the cost of solar power generation in the country by employing energy efficient technologies in its production, by bringing the solar mission and its production as a long-term policy for the government to make the switch from the conventional to the renewable energy. And it also has large-scale deployment goals with regarding to the economic growth, the employment, and etc. It also has the aggressive research and development goal for the furtherance and the maintenance and upgradation of the technologies. Its primary aim is, of course, in line with the Atmanirbhar scheme, is the domestic production of the raw materials, components and products. So this National Solar Mission has been initially planned to being implemented in 3 phases. The first phase being from 2010 to 2013. The first phase being from 2010 to 2013, and the second phase from 2013 to 2017, and the third phase is the current ongoing phase, that is from 2017 to 2022. These are the important timelines regarding that. And here, since we have already And since here we are already discussing about the solar energy and its related schemes, let me bring to you what are the other initiatives taken by the government that are in recent light but are so let me bring to you the other schemes that are being taken up by the government that have come in recent light. That is the Pradhan Mantri Kusum Yojana, which you know is the setting up of grid-based solar panels to derive energy for agricultural purposes. And we also have the rooftop solar program. And for this monitoring and supervision, we have the Spin web portal. We also lastly have the Surya Mitra scheme. This is to provide skill training to youth in the rural areas so that they are capable of being independent and maintaining the installed solar equipment by themselves. Further, we have the Ministry of Power coming up, and under the ninth scheme it is Unnati, that is nothing but the Unlocking National Energy Efficiency Portal. Now the clue here for you is the energy efficiency, as of course when it comes to energy it is related to the Ministry of Power, which distributes and manages the electricity production and etc. Now, Unnati especially is nothing but a national strategy document to develop an energy efficient nation, and this is relevant for the years 2017 to 2031, which is the major reason why I am discussing it here today. And this is being developed by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Please remember this key point here, because we also have other bodies to confuse you with in the options, such as the Indian Energy Exchange body and etc. But this particular scheme is being developed by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. And to talk more about the Unnati scheme, it is nothing but a plain framework or an implementation strategy to establish a clear link between the demand and the supply scenario, and depending on that to provide the energy efficient opportunities. This document on the whole offers a comprehensive roadmap to address the India's environmental and climate change mitigation action plan. And the most unique thing about this scheme is that it is one of its kind. No other nation has actually come up with a blueprint of energy efficiency strategy in its country, and this is all the more important for India when it comes to the strategy of understanding how its energy demand is, where it is almost 790 MTOE, that is the million tons of oil equivalent that is needed in the country, and whereas the saving potential is only 87 MTOE. We also have the emission, and India's nationally determined targets are the 36% reductions in these emissions, which are all only possible by coming up with a national strategy that pushes India into, tapping into the immense potential that is to be realized from the large-scale implementation of these interventions that are to come out from this strategy. Further, we have a question based on the two schemes that we have discussed, that is the Unnati scheme and also the National Solar Mission. The question reads as, which of the following mentioned missions is not a part of the NAPCC, that is the National Action Plan on Climate Change? Is it the National Mission on Sustainable Habitat, Mission for a Green India, Mission for Sustaining a Northeastern Ecosystem, and Mission on Strategic Knowledge for Climate Change? Please drop your answer below in the comment section for us to revert back. And the last scheme under the Ministry of Power for today is the bundling scheme. Now, the objective of this scheme is to provide round-the-clock power to the distributors. This is again also a first of its kind scheme in the world. That is because it has a very interesting feature of selling renewable energy and thermal power in a bundle provided together to the seekers. So this is in recent news, and as you can see, it is an amalgamation of both the solar and thermal energy bundled together. That is why it is called as a bundling scheme. So try and remember the key term here so that it will ring a bell when you see it as a form of a question in future reference. And this another aim is to provide the 24/7 distribution. So this comes under the Ministry of Power and is based with both the fossil-based power and the clean energy. And this complementing each other is to make up a viable system that provides consistent power to the grid. This is a very nice innovation, we should say. And going ahead, The last and this is the 10th, okay, and this is the 11th scheme for today is from the Ministry of Mines. That is the Satyabhama portal. Now this I felt is a bit unique and might confuse most of you, maybe thinking that since it's Satyabhama, it is a mythological character and this scheme might come under the Ministry of Culture. But no, this scheme comes under the Ministry of Mines. Let me abbreviate what this Satyabhama means to the makers when they made this abbreviation. So Satyabhama here is nothing but the Science and Technology Yojana for Atmanirbhar Bharat in mining advancement. So there it is decryptified and you understand what Satyabhama now means. Or maybe it is a funny mnemonic or it is a way to remember this. So the facts under the scheme are that this scheme helps in promoting research and development through the science and technology interventions done in the mining advancements. And another key feature is that it is integrated with the NGO Darpan portal, which is a part of Niti Aayog. So try and remember these bodies wherever they have come. And under the features of the Satyabhama, that is nothing but the Science and Technology Yojana for Atmanirbhar Bharat in Mining Advancement Scheme that comes under the Ministry of Mines. This platform has been launched for the monitoring of the mines and their programs in 2020. And the National Informatics Center has designed and implemented this portal. There are digital technologies that play a crucial role in the promotion of the R&D. The web portal Satyabhama enables the digital submission of the proposals, which is quite a new feature, reducing the manual submission and delay there. And the progress report and the final technical reports of the projects can be submitted all in the electronic form by the scientists. The system also provides a user manual which depicts and highlights the stepwise procedures to submit a project to avoid the confusion. That is, this is nothing but a literacy and awareness feature. And the website also helps in enhancing the efficiency and effectiveness in implementing the scheme. Also, I would like to make a mention here that under the Ministry of Mines, you have many geospatial, geoscience related schemes. I request you all to take 1 minute after this video and visit the Ministry of Mines, because when I was going through the ministry, I was quite confused as to why the schemes related or on the name of geospatial sciences, geospatial research is under the mines, because most of you might think that it might come under the Ministry of Earth Sciences. So try and read through the schemes. I just do not have the space to provide all of those schemes here, but I would highly recommend all of you to go through the website once. And before concluding for the day, let me provide you with the last question. Try and look into the following pairs and identify their government schemes to the respective ministries, and let us know the answer in the comment section below. So that's it, guys. I hope you have bought something out of the interactive session today, where we have almost each question come after every 2 schemes that we have discussed. Please try and revisit all of our previous videos before the preliminary examination, so that you make a quick rapid revision of all the important schemes that have come into light this particular year. So hoping to see you all succeed in the preliminary examination of 2021. All the best. Do like, share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.